This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. Hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. For this episode, we are chatting with spiritual healer Gao Mostsemme. She has an incredible energy and outlook on life that makes you walk away from a conversation feeling better. You guys, you're going to hear this in the episode, but my camera wasn't working for whatever reason. We just kept having technical issues and we decided, you know what, at this point, let's just go ahead and record this, and it's okay that she can't see me. And at a certain point in the episode, my neck and shoulder, which have always been an issue, but in the past few days have been just, the pain has been not great. And so I was starting to rub out and stretch out my neck and my shoulder, and again, she couldn't see this. My camera was broken, and she called it out as soon as it started happening. So not that, and she doesn't really talk about how to heal you physically, but she talks about how to take away the emotional release so that way you're able to spiritually feel better, and then hopefully that then physically helps you a little bit. So we talk about that and so much more on this episode, and how it didn't feel that we got deep enough into it. So we're going to definitely have a part 2 at some point down the line. And if you guys have any questions after hearing this episode, make sure to listen to or send an email to hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Again, the email will be hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Can't wait to hear your questions and your thoughts. And let's just get to it. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, yourself?
Good. It's so lovely to see you. I know we're having some technical issues, so you can't totally see me, but that's okay. We're going to have a lovely conversation. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast.
Awesome.
So I did my research on you and I have so many questions, but first I would love to hear in your own words your background and who you are.
Okay. Yeah, Gao Mostsemme is my name. I come from Botswana in Southern Africa, and I've been residing in Germany for 10 years now. And before I dive into a lot of things that I do, I work a lot with the body, mind, and heart connection. So I would like us to just start there first. Just taking a deep breath and connecting with our body and being fully present. And I normally do this, especially with the greetings, which is Dumelang, Dumelan, Lokai. And as we are gathering here in Love and Explore, what is it that you're agreeing to when it comes to this topic? Even the conversation that we're just going to have today, what is it that you are opening yourself to? Because the truth is, we are being penetrated by something on a daily basis, and what is it that you are allowing to penetrate you? And when it comes to change, I also love to bring in the not knowing. We are taught, we are always learning something new, but we are not taught to unlearn what we know, so that we can learn something new. And the thing is, when we are operating from what we know, we are digging from the history. So when I'm asking you, where are you at, lokai, as in locate yourself, this question is, are you fully here in your body? Are you here mind, body, and heart? Or it's just the body that is here, but you're doing something else, driving probably, or just being concerned about your bills, about the relationship that is not working, about the disease and all that. Because this is also one of the things when it comes to healing anything. Because at the core of things, the emotions, it's what causes a lot of stuff. And when we get to be present and allow whatever that needs to come through, we are opening ourselves to heal. So, with that said, I am a healer, a freedom eliminator, and I help individuals break free from generational patterns and imprints so that they can embody their freedom of individuality and tap into that unwavering self love and magnetic confidence so that they can thrive in the boardroom and bedroom. And yeah, we dive deep into the sexual energy, the inner child, being in the body, feeling safe, creating and giving birth to what you desire.
That's a lot for to unpack there, and I can't wait to spend this conversation doing that. Uh, I saw that you label yourself as a human MRI and psychic surgeon. So, what did those labels in particular mean to you? How does that process of feeling the energy of someone work for you?
Mhm. I love that you're mentioning them as labels, because it's just that, it's just labels. But anyway, where I'm coming from with the human MRI psychic surgeon is basically my work. And in short, when I connect with someone, and it's quite interesting because it's not even about us connecting, it's even if you text me, there is energy that comes through that text. I get to feel how you were feeling when you were sending that. But I step into somebody's auric fields, energetic fields, and see what is happening physically, emotionally, mentally, and metaphysically. So it's kind of like I get to communicate with the other bodies of you and tap into that subconscious system and see what is it that is going on. Because when we're talking about healing anything, it's about where is that stored. As we know, there is a lot of information, law of attraction, and change your mind and all that. There's a lot of information out there. But why is a lot of people's lives not changing? Is because information is not transformation. So being in your body is key, and also finding out where that is. If we're talking about toxic relationship, what is coming through. When you're talking about sexual energy, there is always something that our body is saying. When you're talking about money, something lights up in our body. So my genius is basically connecting to the body consciousness and beyond, and basically the soul, and finding out what are the timelines, what is influencing where you are at or interfering with what you want to create.
So, if am I understanding it correctly that you're not necessarily looking at someone's body and saying, okay, I'm feeling an energy? For example, to give everybody in the audience a peek behind the curtain, we tried to record this episode once before, and we started to have a conversation that you were getting an energy from me in my left pelvic area down in the center. So, it's not necessarily that I need to go and check my ovaries, that there's something wrong with, like, that there's cysts or a tumor there necessarily, but that there's something of there of where I hold my emotion that needs to be explored. Is that correct in my understanding?
I just love that. Yes.
Okay.
And here's the thing: I may talk about something, and you, or maybe there's something that you know. I mean, it has happened a lot of times with the people who came to me. When someone comes and I'm like, "Oh, this is what is happening," either they're not aware of it, and maybe later they'll realize, "Oh shit, this is what she was talking about,"
Mhm.
or they have been to the doctors already to say, "Hey, I've got a pain here. Something is not right," and the doctor's like, "Nothing is happening."
Mhm.
And as I mentioned last time we were talking, and the pelvic area is what pulled my attention. And today
Mhm.
when we show up, I first felt the heaviness from the heart, and then I felt the heaviness at the back, kind of like the back heart. So that's like where the energy is today. So it depends. Some of the things, first thing, it's kind of like what is in the forefront, what is it that when it's shifted, it can shift other things in your life. And all at times it's more like even tracing a map. I can come and say, okay, fine, here we are in the heart, and then maybe when I trace the energy from the heart, I can end up at the pelvic area, or even maybe ancestral stuff and all that. So it's something like that.
So, take me through. So, if today is the heart and the back, then what is the process there of trying to get to a resolution at the end of a session when you have a client or a patient with you, what does that process feel like, to get them to the root of what that issue is? Is it just
Um,
talking it through? Is it crystals? Is it what? How does that all work?
okay. I love that question. I call my methodology African ancient
Mhm.
quantum medicine, and African ancient is in the sense of I do healing the way my ancestors have done it in the past.
Okay.
So I do the healing in my body, you know, and I know that it's something different. When you talk to people, they'll be like, "Oh, that when you do healing in your body and all that, it's kind of like it's old ancient thing and all that." But for me, this is like this is my genius, you know, this is what I do, and this is what also makes it more effective. So when I step into your energetic fields, and this is, and I understand if some people try to do it and it's not something that they are, it's not that they're not an expert in this area,
Mhm.
you can get hurt, you know, because people's body holds a lot of stuff. There's a lot of shit going on in people's bodies, you know, energetic fields and all that. So when I step into or into your energetic fields, as much as like I do a scan to find out what is it that needs attention, it's more like first thing the body calls me, and it's what drives me, where do we need attention, and then we go there. I normally don't talk about something without doing anything on it. You understand? It's kind of like when I step in there, I'm not going to go deep as when I'm doing a session with you and we can dive deep and we can
Mhm.
trace it. But at the same time, as I'm speaking, I'm transmitting energy. This is why my first call, when I start, I'm like, don't tell your body what it feels. Allow your body to communicate with you and tell you what it feels.
Mhm.
Because when you are listening to your body, and there is a sensation, there is a heaviness, there's a trigger, but you lean on it. Because I am here transmitting energy, I'm able to transmit it at the same time. But if you get stuck in the mind, I mean, the energy is going to do what the energy is going to do as long as your higher self is open to receive this. Because at times, as a human, because of our own limitations, you don't know what you want. But if at all it's in alignment with your soul and for your highest good, you're going to receive this. But the magic is when you are present enough to realize that there is something that is happening, whether you are feeling that or even after the session. The this is kind of like it's a podcast, but it's a session at the same time. Like I said,
Mhm.
I'm always transmitting energy. It can happen that after the session and you feel like, I just want to rest. I'm tired because there's a lot of things that we shifted in this time that we are together. So I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yes. So it's not necessarily that we have to talk about, what happened to you, that your heart is feeling heavy and things like that. It's just about the energy of being together and trusting you to go through that process, and hopefully that energy shifts and releasing whatever is being held on to in the body. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely, absolutely. If we're having a conversation, it's more like to give the mind something to hold into, not
Mhm.
necessarily that what we're saying matters. I always say this, as much as we're holding into words, like, oh, this words and all that. Um, it's words are limited, there's some things that we may not even have an explanation for or even a wording for. You understand? So even when you're talking about like positive words, some people are running chasing, I want to feel positive, this is a positive word, don't say that to me. For instance, I may talk, maybe we're having a conversation and I'm feeling the resistance. I'm like, there is a resistance here, where is this coming from?
Mhm.
I've had somebody who is well educated, because at times intellect can get in the way
Yes.
of this work.
Yes.
And this is somebody from Harvard and a doctor and all that. And I was like, there is a lot of resistance that is coming through. And she said, oh, don't tell me about resistance. Don't tell me about resistance. I'm creating my life. I'm being positive and all that. And this is why a lot of people's life is not transforming. This is why people are not healing, because that we are holding in to be positive, which is also coming from fear. Is coming from, it's quite interesting because as I'm speaking about this, I'm just feeling this energy on the left side, but on the neck, which shows
Mm.
me like kind of like the feminine. There is kind of like the stubbornness in just like this is how things it has to be. It's kind of like what is like really coming through. And this can also happen even, for instance, when it comes to whether you got a diagnosis or something like that from the doctor and all that.
Mhm.
Yeah, they told you what they told you, but it doesn't mean that is the be all and end all. You
Mhm.
understand? So when you are like, okay, the doctors knows everything, and I'm just gonna trust and believe everything that they say, and you basically disconnect from your own truth, then that's how it's gonna be. So we were arguing with this person. Actually, it was not an argument, because when she said this is how it's done in coaching, and I said, unfortunately, I'm not a coach, I'm a healer. So for me, when the energy is here, it needs to be addressed. But if you are holding into how you do it, how it's done in coaching or even in self-development, then if that was working, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because you'd have gotten whatever that you were looking for. Even the act as if and all that. If you can act as if, you can tell yourself a lot of words, but if you don't feel it, then it's not true. Because anything that you get to heal, you get to be present. And it's quite interesting, because as I'm speaking about this, I spoke about the neck, which shows me like there is like some stubbornness there, especially from the feminine side. And the same thing goes back to I would say, the waist, more on the left side. Again, it's kind of like, it's not necessarily a grip. It's kind of like there is something within, especially by the hip area, waist area, somewhere there. There is some energy that is moving right as I'm speaking, and it brings us to the pelvic area. It brings us to the pelvic area, right? So it's like it's a lot to do. It's a lot to do with that. Which, like I said, we found the call will dive more deeper on this, and back into the words. What words mean? You may hear the word love, and how do you relate with the word love? You relate with it based on the love that you're exposed to. If it's toxic love, that's what you mean by love, even though you think you mean something else, but your nervous system craves the love that it knows. If I'm talking about pride or someone being proud of you, I'll give you an example with myself where sometimes I did something and I had a lot of messages from people. Oh, how I'm proud of you, how I'm proud of you. I responded like just from the mind to the first two people. And then from there, I just felt like my body's not receiving this.
Mhm.
So when I checked in with myself, I realized that the person that I really longed to hear this from is my mother. So
Mm.
that was like a wound, you understand? So it's not about words, it's about what is it that your body, how does your body respond to certain things? So
Yeah.
when we let go of words, because right now, if I'm talking about grief, if I'm talking about heartbreak, when you're working from history, you're gonna open those books. What does that mean? And
Mm.
then this is how I'm supposed to feel if there is grief. But if I'm talking about just a sensation, we don't know what it means. And you are not judging it, but you are opening the door for it. You are allowed to be here.
Yeah. I really two things in all of what you just said. Thing one, I laughed as hard as I did when you were talking about my neck because guys, she for the folks listening, my camera's not working. You cannot see me, but I was actually rubbing my neck, the left side of my neck right before you mentioned it. And it kind of a little freaked me out because that was like too spot on in the moment. And you
Yeah.
cannot see me. So that was totally based on whatever energy that you were feeling. But the other thing is a lot of what we talk about on this podcast, and I was actually just having a similar conversation with another guest yesterday, that there's so much that doctors can tell you about your physical needs, but there's so much emotional work that needs to be done as well in order for the physical body to be able to catch up to where you want it to be. So I think that you are as vital important of the process as the traditional Western medicine portion of like traditional going to a doctor, getting the medication, getting the prescription, whether that be you need to go running and do more fitness and be on a better diet. I think the emotional healing is just as important, if not more so, and the spiritual healing, which is why I'm so interested in what you do because I feel like it's something that's in American culture not talked about enough. It's not emphasized the importance of it enough. There's still such a negative stigma to all of it. So I appreciate all of what you do because
Thank
it's such
you.
a stigma in especially America and other places as well. There is that generational trauma, and you spoke to that before. So I'm also curious, if the energy that you feel that has to be undone, that is it possible that it's inherited from my ancestors, like great great grandparents, that are being funneled into me and that I have to release that energy? It's not necessarily things that I've experienced in my own life. Is that what you mean by generational trauma that needs to be healed?
Absolutely. And I love everything that you said, because I feel like, honestly, this is not a feeling. I just know that emotions are the core of the disease.
Mhm.
Whether it's us experiencing the scarcity in our external life, whether it's the disease in our body,
Mhm.
scarcity in the sense of financial lack and all that. When we look at it, it's kind of like our emotion. There is a problem there. We don't even have the capacity. Sometimes you don't even have the capacity to receive what is coming through. But going back to the to what is really going on, I'm just gonna share it from two perspective. It depends on which one you are more aligned with. But the truth of it is, 80% of the things that are going on in our life, either they've got nothing to do with this lifetime, or they are not originally from you. In the sense of, some things are coming from your ancestors, as in like that generational. They've been passed on for um many generations. And we just absorb all this. This is why when I talk about disconnecting from our ancestors and creating from our unique signature blueprint, there are templates that you are born into.
Mm.
And it starts even with your name. You are given a name and a surname, and a surname is like, it's the surname that has been, yeah, there for whatever many generations. Is just passed on. And when you're talking about your identity, who are you? First thing you say your name, or this is
Mm.
who I am and this is what I do. We identify with the roles and all those things, and it's not who we are, but it's who we are. As in, like, this is what is acceptable in the society. But what are the codes that your name has? And some of you, just some of you, even when it comes to where you come from, you may have a single parent. You don't know the other parent, or the other parent somehow died at an earlier age or something like that. So whatever that is happening there, or even the time when you're conceived and you were not received. I mean, if someone is falling pregnant at an earlier age, it's kind of like, I don't know if I want this child. There's just emotions that are going on, that maybe along the way we just let go and we accept that, okay, fine, a baby's a gift and all that. But the truth of it is, those emotions that were there immediately when you're just a cell, these are this is like the frequency that you marinate in. Even if a parent is going through something with the in a relationship, and there is this back and forth and all that, you are absorbing all of this. Especially, I mean, it's from both, because you come from both the mother and the father, but you are there in your mother's womb. You feel what she feels, and all that. So, and it can happen that maybe a parent dies when you are born, or even when you are still small. They anchors the frequency of abandonment. When I go back to ancestors, I'm looking at the core wounds, which one or the other we cannot run away from, which is betrayal, abuse, abandonment, and rejection.
Mm.
And even when you're looking at relationship, romantic relationship, these are the core wounds that we experience, one or the other. And at the core of it, even death. Death is an abandonment. There is also a feeling of not being loved, even by source.
Mm.
So, as much as people may not talk about, this is what is there, I'm alone, no one loves me, and you create all of these things, and they expand to create all this disharmony, all these discordant energies in the body. Despite what is happening, the parents may also be there, but because they are busy with trying to hustle for you, making money so that you can eat, they are not present. You
Mm.
don't feel their love, you don't have their attention, and you actually hate the same thing that they are trying to do to sort of provide for you. And then you go through life and all the things. It's kind of like a baggage, and especially as children, at times there is a trade of energy. I'm going to take your baggage, mama, because I can see you're overwhelmed,
Mhm.
and maybe you can create a bit of space for me. So when you look at it, you've taken a lot of stuff because you wanted other people to have less baggage and maybe create space for you. And some of you are just sensitive. Like I said, even with empath and narcissist, empath is always looking for something to, it's kind of like, I want to fix something outside and all that. And when you come in from that, not being loved enough, not being validated and all that, you attract the narcissist energy, which is, the narcissist is kind of like, it's kind of like the vampire energy. They want to suck into something good, but you also looking for them because it's kind of like you need them for you to survive until you learn and know how to use this for your highest good, and you learn also to create, actually have higher standards and also have boundaries. Otherwise you're gonna go searching for somebody. You may leave John, and then you're gonna fall in love with Robert or Mike, because they have that same frequency that you are also vibrating in, or probably is what you marinated in as a child. And there is also other lifetimes, which some other things are coming from, not this lifetime, but other lifetimes that we lived. I know this is like, when it comes to many lifetimes and all that, not everybody's into that. But the truth of it is, we've lived many lifetimes, especially when you're talking about the inner child. I've had an experience personally, and my clients have had their own, but I want to share mine, where as a child I grew up with this anger. There was a lot of anger, and of course there were lots of dysfunction where I was coming from, and I thought that this anger was just coming from my experiences in this lifetime,
Mm.
until one evening I was just about to sleep. Then I heard this little voice, "Do you want to know why I'm angry?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I waited and nothing came through. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna go sleep. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I went into this trance, and it's kind of like I was teleported to a different lifetime. And I experienced, basically, because all those imprints were in my body of this child being molested by its father in that lifetime,
Mm.
you know and that opened a way for me to release this, because at the same time it's kind of like it brought that
Mhm.
into my consciousness, because going through life there was kind of like a part of me that kind of like knew something happened, but again I don't remember anything happening in this lifetime where I was sexually abused. But when I looked at it, when this inner child came through, I was carrying these imprints. They had nothing to do with this lifetime, but they were flipping very influential in who I'm being, what I create, what I believe about myself, all the shame, sexual guilt, sexual shame. And these are the beliefs and whatever that is transferred from culture, society, religious system, government, medical, and all that. So it's a lot.
So when you're going through that and you have confronted your inner, that I guess it would be your ancestor or a past life, however you want to look at it and call it, does that, once you heal that for yourself, does that then heal it? Like, will your children and their children still have to confront those energies and heal that for themselves as well? Or have you healed it and maybe passed on other things that your children and grandchildren, great great grandchildren will have to confront on their own as well? Does, once one person heals it, is it healed forever? I guess is my question.
Okay. There is I mean, that's a good question, and also that's the beauty of doing generational healing, because when
Mm.
you heal it, it's kind of like you are removing it from that collective, whether that collective is the family collective, whether that collective is societal, tribal, and the whole world thing, because even when I look at it, whether it's someone who molested or was molested, when we look at it, there is a collective consciousness, whatever that influences, there is a collective consciousness, and then there is all this breakdown going to the family and going to the self. So when you remove that, you heal that, you're not only helping your children, but you're also helping those who went before you. There may be some things that on a personal level, because not everything is, like I said, 80% is not yours, but you still have to work on your own 20%, whatever that is. But definitely it heals past generations and also the upcoming children. Yeah.
That's great. How I love that. So, going to the inner child work, how does connecting with the inner child, how does that all work in the healing process for you?
hmm The inner child is an aspect of us that really holds the vision to our purpose, the vision to why we're here, is the aspect of us that is connected to the pleasure, is the aspect of ourself that has that curiosity, when it comes to times of change and all that, is that aspect that is more curious, is not stuck into this is how it is, or even when you experience some pain or something like that. As adults, we have a tendency of holding into this person did this to me. So
Hmm.
you hold a grudge. A child, you can beat a child, say something to that child, and then they experience that hurt. But at the same time, 30 minutes from here, 5 minutes from here, it's kind of like, I love you. And they just go on with that life. So it's that aspect of us that is innocent. So when you integrate it, instead of this aspect, because whether you decide to do the work or not, but it's an aspect of us that is very influential, especially when it comes to those emotions and all that. So if that is not dealt with, that means you are, with high probability, you're operating from fear. With high probability, your emotions run the show. And when it comes to relationships, chances are you are relationshiping from that chaos, always throwing a tantrum. You don't know how it is to be present and have a conversation. Even when it comes to parenting, are you parenting from the inner child, or you parenting or leading even from that inner child? Is the aspect that when you have integrated it, you feel safe in the world. You are more curious to connect to even your creativity and all that. And the thing is, what is happening is, a lot of times when the inner child comes through, it's kind of like we have to go through the inner child. Like looking at my work, there is all the ancestral inner child, but often the door to the whole sexual energy and all that, it's often opened by the inner child. And this is what I find always flipping mind blowing. If something has happened to, whether there was sexual abuse and all that, the inner child will lead me. This is what happened. It's kind of like it's the aspect of us that also holds into all that happened. It impacted this aspect a lot, because remember, as a child, that was there's a moment where you have not evolved, you have not grown, you don't know what is what. Like you are more, whatever that is coming through is just penetrating you, and you're making a reality with whatever that is coming through. You understand? So you may grow up and tell yourself some stories that, oh, I don't care about that, I'm older now and all that. But this inner child cares. It doesn't matter how your mother treated you or how you perceive your mother now because of what happened. But the truth of it is, this aspect is still looking up to that authority, whether it's the mother, the father, is still longing for that love. This aspect is still, there is some sense of kind of like closure that it wants, or more to, if at all you are healing and being present enough to heal, to mother this aspect, because basically that's what life is all about. You once had children, you were a child, you were looking up to your parents to take care of you, and they did what they did. And if you are still searching, if you still somehow there's some misalignment, some illness, you are broke or whatever that is happening, then somehow you are not in alignment. That's why there is a part of you that is not fulfilled. You are searching for something. That's your inner child that is still looking for that. But when you integrate and you show your inner child that I didn't know any better, I didn't abandon you, I didn't reject you, I didn't know how to connect with you, or I didn't even know how to do this whole parenting thing, but now I'm conscious enough and I'm open to connect with you so that we can be together. I've got you, you've got me, can we work together as a team? Now it's kind of like you are taking everything from, instead of looking outside, looking for your mother or your father. Because I find at times there are people who, even after their parents are gone, somehow they're still looking for that parent. At times I connect with other people's inner children
Mm.
sitting close somewhere to the parent who has long passed on. But for the inner child, it's kind of like I'm still looking I'm still waiting for this person to give me attention. But you get to be the one who integrated and say, hey, I'm now here to take care of you, to love you.
I love that. And you've given a lot for me to digest. I just want to be conscious of the time. So I have one big question for you before I go into
Yeah.
our rapid fire. You talked a lot about masculine and feminine energies. So does that work the same way as far as transforming the sexual energy and causing those breakthroughs for your personal and professional success and fulfillment? Is that the same as making sure you're properly using your masculine and feminine energies inside of you to does that then therefore translate as well into better personal and professional relationships?
Hmm. I love that. Let's just say, especially when you're talking about freedom of individuality, I talk about freedom of individuality from the sense of us disconnecting from our ancestors and fully aligning with our unique signature blueprint. That is knowing who I am, what is it that I'm here to experience, and stop creating our relationship, health, emotional, and mental well being, or even wealth from whatever that we're handed was handed over to us. And I talk about this freedom of individuality as well when it comes to, it's quite interesting because I'm just feeling a lot on the throat, which is like that self expression
Mm.
when it comes to that wholeness. Because when you are whole, that is fully balanced as the masculine and the feminine, then I'm able to express who I am. You can be in a relationship, you can be in a marriage, but at the end of the day, you don't lose yourself because of love. You still remain whole and you meet your partner as a whole. So the feminine, the masculine and feminine energy, it's all within us. We get to integrate that so that we can, it's kind of like bringing in the balance of that emotion and logic. It also, even when you're talking about the feminine energy, it's kind of like it's that part of us that is more chaotic emotions, right? And when it comes to emotions, they can drown you, or you can thrive, especially when you are not in the whole control thing, so the masculine itself says more like it's kind of like a structure. Do you have a structure where you feel supported for this energy that is flowing, that is chaotic, to come through? That is whatever ideas, inspiration that is coming through, whatever creativity that wants to be expressed through you, all that one is coming through. Is there a structure to hold you? Do you feel safe in your body? The masculine is more like, the truth of it is, if there is no that that divine masculine, that sacred masculine, even if you are a partner who does not fully embody this energy, you don't feel safe.
Mhm.
That is, you don't feel safe to be yourself, to express your truth. You don't feel safe to create and give birth to what you desire. You may have ideas, but on the other hand, this is also, the masculine is the part of you that gets to take action. So if it's like the masculine and the feminine are not working together, that means, yeah, you may have ideas, but when it comes to taking action, it's kind of like, I don't even get, actually, often it's also the understanding. Like, I don't know what shit you're talking about. You're talking about whether it's your spirituality or you want money and all that. It's a dance between these two, and it's quite interesting because even when I'm talking about this feminine and the masculine energy and wanting money, I still remember like 5 years ago, I was really in a, like, really broke, let me say. But every time when I wake up, I'll just hear, I don't like money. So that was like a voice that was coming through. I don't like money. And I still connect with this aspect from both that feminine, deep, magical creation aspect of myself, and also from the ancestral aspects, where
Mhm.
it's kind of like, money is gonna cause a lot of things here. I don't like money and I don't want it. So this aspect does it, whatever that it could, to make sure that it stops the flow. And you may, whether it's you or the audience, whenever you want to do something that is going to be more profitable or productive, you all of a sudden you fall sick. There is opportunity that comes through, you're excited, and when you're supposed to get that, you fall sick. Something happens, or you get the money, and then comes another diagnosis, something falls off, the car breaks off, and you have to use that money for that. Why is that? There is something deeper that you need to dive into. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, because sometimes it's kind of like I'm just following the energy, and I find myself somewhere. Have I answered your question?
You did. You've answered all my questions and more, and I'm so appreciative, and I feel like do you do, in your work, do you do virtual calls as well, or is it better to do it in person? So if you're in Berlin, correct? So if anybody happens to find themselves in Berlin, that's how they have to find you? How does it all you seem to be doing just fine virtually with me, so
Yeah. No, I do it visually. I'm actually in Nuremberg.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so I do it visually because energy transcends time and space. So we are not limited by all those things. And even when I talk about, I remember I wanted to mention this before, but I didn't. Even when I talk about, for instance, when I say my ancestors used to do this work and they do it through their body, and even those times, there was a time when, for instance, giving people, whether it was a crystal or giving people some plant and say, oh, go boil this and drink and all that. And it's quite interesting because when I asked, like, okay, fine, how am I going to do this? Because regarding working with plants and all that, it's kind of like everything is within you, it's within the energy. Whatever plant that is needed, you transmit it as you doing the work. So it's kind of like we are working with everything, but just through energy. So I just work however, whether you are in person, but visually, that's how I've been doing my work, and it has been working wonders still.
Amazing. I know that you have another meeting that you have to get to. So to be conscious of your time, I want to make sure that I first say thank you so much for all of this. And I always ask my guests the same rapid fire questions at the end of every episode. So is it okay if I ask you those questions as well before I let you go?
Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. What is your favorite food city that you visited?
The city.
A city with the best food, in your opinion.
Mm. That's a good question. It's quite interesting, but I think I'm gonna be biased here because I mean I've been in Europe, I've eaten all the foods and all that. But on the other hand, when I go back home, there is a certain meal that you don't find anywhere but in my home place.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna say tui, and tui is more like a mixture of meat and then the water lily, but the root of the water lily. So
Mm,
it's I know that in some other countries like here in Europe, that flour and whatever is protected, so you
mhm.
can't even take it out.
Yeah.
So somehow, because I don't have it a lot, I still believe it's the first thing. Even when I think of quitting meat, it's kind of like, but if I do, I'm still gonna eat this. So I'm just gonna be be biased here. Yeah,
Where is that dish from? Give that shout
from
out.
Maung in Botswana.
Okay, perfect. Everybody will have to go to Botswana then and try
Yeah, and eat the water lily root and mixed with meat and all that. It's magical.
it. Do you prefer a vacation that requires you to be active or relax?
Ah. That's a that's a that's a complicated question, right? Because I want both.
That's an
Like
answer.
seriously,
That's an
I want both. I want a balance of both. Even when it comes to like, really, do you want to stay in mountains or by the beach? It's kind of like, why the fuck would you ask me that question?
Yeah. We can do both. We can do both. Uh,
Absolutely.
and where is the city where you learned the most about yourself?
Where I learned the most about myself. I don't know. Somehow I'll say Nuremberg. This is like where I've been residing, but even with my waking up to my highest truth, I've been in this energy, and I don't even know what the hell is here. But somehow, yeah, there is just like some magic that, like I said, I thought I was coming here because of marriage, but only to realize that marriage was kind of like a bridge to myself, like
Mhm.
to dive deep. And it's quite interesting because as much as I came here and I didn't know the language, I got to learn the language. But when it comes to my work, I work 99.9% in English, but at times I'll go dive deep and come back with languages or even words that I don't even know, and I'll
Yeah.
start searching what they mean. That is in German. So I think there is a lot here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I was living in Verona, so I totally relate to that. Um,
Right?
yes. My last question that I have for you, and then we'll let you go. Where can the people find you?
Okay. I'm available on at my website, and but the most important thing, I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna share my orgasmic clarity link with you so that I can share whoever wants to dive deep, an intro call to African ancient quantum medicine.
Okay.
I'm available at my website, hieatexplorelove.com. But the reason why I'm bringing this up to say, why not book a call is because there's a lot of information. Right now, I can tell you all the shit like go do this, how to's, and all that. You've heard that so many times. But when you get to know exactly what is happening, where you storing that, whether you choose to dive deeper or not, I don't care. The most important thing, you get to know what is it that is holding you back, and you get to choose what you do with it. So if you really want to experience magic, because one thing that I can tell you is that even my clarity calls are very transformational. Get yourself, book that orgasmic clarity call, and let's see what is really stopping you, because you'll find that there's so many things that you were not aware of that come through. I had one lady on a call, and she came through, and at the end she was just like in tears. She said she realized that for her the most pain was when she was separated with her brother, because she didn't have a relationship with the mother. By the time when the brother had to leave and join the mother, it was like the most painful thing ever, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But just because of that clarity call, something big shifted. And I know that even when it comes to whatever that you get to do after meditation or whatever that you do, you're gonna receive it differently when you're coming from that clarity. It's kind of like calm waters. So
Yes. Cool. I will make sure to have the links to your website in the show notes description for the podcast episode. So that way everybody can have an easy way to, they don't have to go searching. It's just all right there so that they can go straight to you.
yeah.
Amazing. I loved being able to chat with you. I'm sure this is not the last time we will be speaking. I definitely, once I have the means to, will be going and checking out the Orgasmic Clarity website and having a session with
Yes.
you. So thank you so much. It was lovely speaking with you and hope to meet with you soon.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It was amazing really connecting with you, and I wish you and your audience a wonderful, magical, orgasmic day, night, morning, wherever that you at. Go make love with life.
I love that. Thank you, Hal.
Thanks, beautiful.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Eat, Explore, Love the podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode and it was something different and provided a different perspective and a different outlet for all of you guys. Please feel free to reach out again at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com for any questions that you may have. And stay tuned because there will be a part 2 coming your way at some point. Thanks again, as always, till next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.